Hi friends, I am Gokul studying 10th standard in SBA Senior Secondary School and I am also a student of Junior IAS Academy. So today let us discuss a lesson named Our Environment from Class 10 Biology CBSE syllabus. So the lesson name is Our Environment. So what is an environment? So environment is defined as it is the immediate surroundings of an organism. So for example, I am in my home and I am surrounded by TV, fridges and some appliances around me. So which means that is my environment. So if you are living in a city inside an apartment, you are surrounded by lots and lots of buildings, roads, bridges, etc. Which means that is your environment. So environment is the immediate surroundings of an organism. So this is the definition of environment. So an environment contains lots and lots of ecosystems. So what is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is defined as when biotic and abiotic components interact, they form an ecosystem. So let us consider an example. So let us consider a pond. A pond has water in it, stones and pebbles inside it, and it also have some fishes and marine life inside it. So these fishes and water combine to form an ecosystem. So that is an aquatic ecosystem where water, stones and fishes have combined to form an ecosystem and they are interacting to live. So that is an ecosystem. So biotic components of an ecosystem are of three types. The first type is producers. From the name we can guess that these organisms are capable of producing their own food. We know that the organisms which are capable of producing their own food is green plants by the process of photosynthesis. So the second type is consumers. These consumers are directly or indirectly dependent on producers for their food. So what does indirectly means? Indirectly means that organisms will feed on the organisms which already fed on the producers. So that is the meaning of indirectly. So the example of consumers are animals. So we are an example of consumers. So decomposers is the third type. So decomposers are organisms which feed on dead and decaying organic matters. So if an animal dies, the dead animal is now treated and broke down by these decomposers. These decomposers only helps in nutrition cycle. Without them, the nutrition cycle will not happen. So they play a major role in an environment. So there are three types of consumers. The first type is herbivores. These herbivores only feed on plants. For example, goat and deer. So they only feed on plants and nothing else. Carnivores. These animals feed on herbivores for their food. So the examples are lion and tiger. They only eat flesh of other animals. So omnivores. So omnivores feed both on plants and animals. For example, humans we eat both plants and animals. So then fourth type is parasites. The parasites live in or on an organism and derive food from it. So they do not kill the organism, but their intention is to gain food from that organism. So that is known as parasites. So there are let us learn about the levels of consumers. So the first level is producers. These producers are only green plants, nothing can produce their own food. So only green plants can produce their own food and hence they are known as producers. Primary consumers are nothing but herbivores. They directly feed on producers. Secondary consumers are carnivores. They directly feed on herbivores for their food. Tertiary consumers are nothing but top carnivores which feed on carnivores. Quaternary consumers are nothing but decomposers which feed on the dead tertiary consumers. So this is an example of a food chain which states that producer is eaten by primary consumer and that primary consumer is eaten by secondary consumer, that is the snake, and the snake is eaten by the hawk which is the tertiary consumer, and The half, when it dies, it is consumed by the decomposers. So they are nothing but bacteria, fungi, insects, etc. So what is a food chain? Series of living organisms feeding on each other is known as food chain. So this is the definition of a food chain. For example, grass is eaten by deer, that deer is eaten by tiger, and that tiger goes when it dies, it is eaten by the decomposers, and that nutrition is again getting used by the grass. So and it moves on, and it goes so. So this is a chain which does not stop. So each level in a food chain is known as trophic level. For example, primary consumer in this food chain is the second trophic level. Primary producer is the first trophic level, and the secondary consumer is the third trophic level. So there is a flow of food. There is a flow of energy in a food chain. So that flow of energy helps in the survival of each organism. So thank you, friends. Let's meet in the next part.